Hello and welcome to the Social Media Magic Podcast, the perfect podcast for TPT sellers, teacherpreneurs, and teacher business owners who consider themselves to be introverts. Each episode shares all kinds of ideas, tips, tactics, and strategies to help you make more sales and grow your community on social media. Without further ado, let's get on to today's episode. Hello. Welcome back to the Social Media Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Verlanich, also known as Brittany Roberts, and I'm so glad you're here. Today, I'm super excited about this topic, because I'm going to be sharing why you're probably using social media in the wrong way. I want to just say, disclaimer, anytime I use the word wrong way or right way, it has to be said that it's hard to say that there's a wrong way to do anything. When I say wrong, I don't mean that you can't do it in any other way. I'm not saying you have to do it my way. But if you've been doing something and you haven't been seeing the kind of results that you want, then it might be time to switch up the strategy, try a new tactic. And that's with anything. That's not just business and sales and marketing. That's just in general. So if what you're doing right now isn't working when it comes to social media, you don't enjoy it, you're not getting sales from it, you're not seeing results, or you're just not having a good time, you're wondering if it's even worth your time, then come to the workshop, learn, practice, or even just listen to this episode. So when I'm saying wrong, I mean wrong for you. It's not working for you. Now, I will say after that disclaimer that there are best practices, right? There are always best practices for a platform. And what those best practices are is going to change over time depending on what is trending, depending on what features are going on, what features are available. And I would say there are some best practices overall, in marketing in general. You always want to be authentic. You want to be super excited about your offers, because if you're not excited about them, who else is going to be excited? You want to know who you are, and you want to have a strong brand and all that good stuff. And we'll talk a little bit about that throughout the show, really. But what we're really focusing on right now is the overall strategy of social media, what it is, what it's for, and then how to use it, because it's going to look very different as a content creator, as an Instagram influencer, for example, than it is if you're using it for content marketing. So that is the first thing that you'll want to ask yourself. Are you a content creator? Technically, we're all content creators, but are you focusing on building an audience on Instagram? And you can just quickly and quietly to yourself answer that. Are you trying to build an audience on Instagram, in a Facebook group, on TikTok? If the answer is yes, then you're going to skip the rest of this episode. This episode is not for you, because your goal is not to make money from products that you're selling on Instagram or on TikTok or on Facebook. You might be an affiliate for programs. You might get some sponsored content and brand deals and things, but it's a completely different business model. So this podcast, what it's really for, it's for people who are selling on platforms like Etsy or Teachers Pay Teachers, mostly TPT though, because I know that's the bulk of where folks are at, and teacherpreneurs, okay? That's what I'm really focusing on here, is people who have products, sales, and services, mostly digital products, resources, that they're trying to sell on social media, or they're trying to use social media to sell those things. So that's what we're really going to be talking about for the remainder of this episode. That's what I'm really diving into in the workshops. I think you'll still learn a little bit, even if you want to be an Instagram influencer. But I just want to have a disclaimer, they're completely different models. My sister is actually a proper Instagram influencer. She has 50,000 followers or something wild like that, and it goes up every single day. And she is a true influencer in the sense of the word. You can scroll her content and very quickly understand she's about body positivity, plus size fashion. She talks about being in Southern California. It's a lifestyle brand. And so she works with brands. She gets paid to create content that these brands can then use to market their own products and services. She also does a little bit of affiliate marketing, she gets codes and links that if her followers or friends use those codes, and she gets a commission of the sale. But I will say she hustles for that money. She is grinding. And maybe she'll get to a point where she isn't, and she has even more brands reaching out to her. I know she's getting to that point now, but it's a different model. It's completely different than having your own product or service that you're trying to use social media to sell. So if that's not you, if you're not a content creator, if you're still here, then what you're really doing is content marketing. You are using things like blogs, podcasts, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. You're using these platforms, these channels as tools to sell your digital resources and to sell maybe a course or a membership or something else you have going on. So that'd be the first question is, are you a content creator or are you a content marketer? And I know that considering yourself a marketer might make you feel weird, but it's really just for the purpose of figuring out what your strategy is going to be. A content creator makes content for the social media platforms, whereas a content marketer uses those platforms and channels to drive traffic and sales to their offers. When I say that most people use social media in the wrong way, I usually mean they're not using it in accordance to their goals. For example, a seller might be using Instagram as if they were an Instagram influencer when what they really want is to drive traffic to their products on TPT. So once you've decided, okay, I am going to use it in a way that I can drive traffic to those other things, let me just give you an overview of this strategy. And when I say this strategy, this is a very classic list building strategy. This isn't unique to me. If you were to go basically on anyone who's talking about building an audience, growing an email list, selling stuff, this is what they're basically talking about. This is the bird's eye view. But I don't know if they always tell you sequentially what you're supposed to do. So I'm going to break it down really quick. And then we're going to zoom back into social media and the part that plays in it. So usually you start with some kind of paid offer. So for this example here, I have an epic 4-digit multiplication practice bundle that you've put together. You have video instructions for the students. You have a lesson for the teacher, like a mini PD. You have all kinds of worksheets, both in Google Sheets that grade automatically. You have printable worksheets. You have digital manipulatives that you've made. You maybe have a Jeopardy style game in PowerPoint. You have made this epic, amazing bundle. You already know the product is great. You know it's going to help a ton of students. You know it's going to save teachers a ton of time. So there's no question that the product is good. I'm assuming that you've made this amazing product. So then from there, you want to work backwards. We've talked before a little bit about how important it is to grow and nurture an email list because that is where so many conversions happen. There's a statistic that gets thrown around a lot, but it's a good one that says for every dollar you spend, you get $44 back as a return on investment. And so email marketing is definitely something that's here to stay. So you want to have some kind of freebie to give people in exchange for getting on your email list. Now, I went into this a little bit, I think, on the last episode and said it depends on how you position your email list. If you position your email list in such a way that you're saying you want to be on this because it's where I send my freebies, it's where I give value to my audience, you probably wouldn't say give value in your actual text, but you'd say this is where I teach for free, this is where I give support, then your email list is naturally going to be a place where your people want to be. But there are some reasons, some really valid reasons to have a freebie linked to an opt-in page or a landing page that someone would put in their name and email and then get added onto your list. For example, you could have it triggered that when they do that, they get a welcome email sequence. So immediately they get the freebie and then they get some information about you. And then on day 2, they hear about some offers. Day 3, they get your bundle, sales pitch, all this stuff. So you have this automated thing that goes out to them. And so what you're doing is you have it in a set it and forget it type of way where they're getting to know you. You're getting eyes on your content, like your blogs, your podcasts, your group, all that. And you're positioning your product to be sold. So that's a really good, legitimate reason for doing freebies and for having them linked up to an opt-in page that is then linked to your email service provider like ConvertKit or MailChimp or ActiveCampaign or something like that. I'm a big fan of ConvertKit, by the way. I'm not an affiliate for them yet, but I would be because their product is just so good. And I've tried all of them. Okay, so you have your paid offer, you have your freebie, you've made your landing page, your opt-in page. Okay, so then you're going to have some kind of content that leads to that. And so what we're really doing is that working backwards design, right? So you might have this epic blog post that says how to teach 4-digit multiplication. And I would recommend, because there's just so much content out there, the more refined you can get with your keywords, the better. So maybe even instead of saying how to teach 4-digit multiplication, you can say for your keywords, how to teach 4-digit multiplication online, or how to teach 4-digit multiplication digitally, or how to teach 4-digit multiplication to English language learners. Okay, the more specific you can get with the type of modality that you're teaching in, or who is the intended audience, or the kind of students you work with, or the grade even, like how to teach 4-digit multiplication to 6th graders. Even though it's not a 6th grade standard, maybe there's a 6th grade teacher who is looking for supplemental materials that they can use. And so obviously if your content is very young kind of graphics, that might not work for you and for that teacher. But if it would work, hey, why not market to that segment? And so in that blog post, it is going to be epic. We're talking 4,000 to 5,000 to 6,000 words, not just a regular 1,200 word blog post. You are going into depth about what multiplication is, how you teach multiplication, maybe even how multiplication works for a teacher who doesn't have that content knowledge. I mean, you are doing an epic blog post that Google will see is super helpful, so that way your blog post can rank. Okay, but you're not just going to do a blog post. At least I would suggest that you don't. Because we want this blog post to rank, we're going to make sure it has a multimedia approach. So you're going to make sure it has beautiful product photos that are not only highlighting your product, but are showing it in use in action. This helps to position you as an authority and show them that you actually do know what you're talking about, while also selling your product and while also showing the teacher why and how your resource is going to help them out so much. So you're going to have beautiful photos in there that you took. And even if you don't think they're beautiful yet, if you took them, just kind of a Google update thing, it's going to be so much better for you because stock photos are getting more and more rated as lower in helpfulness. So the more original photos, videos, audio you can use on your blog posts, the better. The more multimedia. If you take nothing else from that, definitely use that, because I have a blog post right now on my math brand ranking number 3, which is just crazy to me. I just saw this morning. It's ranking number 3 for how to teach place value. That's a very competitive keyword, and I honestly don't know how I'm ranking for it. I mean, I do know it's because of I shouldn't say I don't know, I should just say I'm surprised, because I am not a math expert. I would say I'm a math enthusiast, but because I went through the steps of actually creating this really helpful content with different ways of operating with it, different modality, different ways of accessibility, because I did that, it's ranking higher in search and more people are finding it. So those are things that you want to be thinking about. You want to make really high quality content that's going to get seen by as many people as possible, and therefore just increasing the likelihood that you're going to get more traffic and then conversions to your resources. So I would say don't just do a blog post. If you can, if you have a podcast, make a podcast episode about it. Maybe list 10 ideas that teachers can use during centers to teach 4-digit multiplication. Make a YouTube video showcasing the 7 best tools that you use to teach multi-digit multiplication or 4-digit multiplication. Maybe there's some certain digital manipulatives that you use. Maybe there's a YouTube channel that you really like. Don't be afraid to shout out other creators. Like, I have content for Math with Minis, which is my math store, where I talk about math antics, because I love what Rob has done with his channel, and I have no problems sharing that because I know it's a good resource for teachers and students, and it's not like they're not going to find it. Like, I mean, he has one of the highest ranking channels for math instruction. It also is a goodwill thing for you to do to be able to shout out other creators. And also, it just makes you more legitimate because Google knows what Math Antics is. Okay, so this creator must be related to that. So strategically, it helps you. And then also, it just helps you to build goodwill with those people. Okay, so you've made some long form content, right? Let's just go back, back out a little bit. So we have our paid offer. We have a freebie leading to that paid offer. We have an opt-in page. We have an epic blog post with really good written content, but we also have multimedia. So we have quality photos, we have a helpful video or two, and we have some audio podcasts embedded in there. You have all your long form content. Now it's time to take that down into snippets for social media posts. So here are some ideas of how I would take that content and use it on social media. So you can make a carousel post on Facebook and on Instagram about those 7 tools that you highlighted in your YouTube video. You could go live with more tangible tips and answer questions. In fact, you could even put a post up a week before you're going to go live to let people know that you will go live and to ask if they have any questions that they'd like for you to answer on the live stream. You can have them submit their questions through a question box that you put on your Instagram stories, or you can just ask people to DM you. And you can do this multiple times because remember, not everybody is going to see every single post or every single story that you make every day. So it's okay to ask the same thing multiple times, but just try to switch up how you do it. So maybe you could put up a poll asking, do you want to learn more about this thing or this thing? Question box, what are your questions that you have about this? Move the slider if you've ever wondered XYZ. Okay, so switch up how you do it. Try to make it fun, gamify it a little bit for anyone who's maybe a really diehard fan and they will see your stuff. But you don't have to spend hours or even like 30 minutes coming up with ideas. Once you have the long form content already made, you can really break that up into little pieces. You can make a series of reels highlighting each individual tactic. So for example, with the 10 Ideas podcast, right? Each idea could be its own reel. And what's really cool about that is if you're doing series, you can let them know, hey, check back tomorrow or follow me if you want to learn more because I'm making other content on this. So that means if someone's interested in one reel, they're going to be interested in the others because they have that need and they're recognizing that's a problem they're actively trying to solve. And that's good for you because that person is way more likely to get your freebie and get on your email list or go and buy the resource bundle than someone who's just exploring the idea of multiplication for the first time. So you do want to consider like people are in different points of their awareness and journey, and you want to try to have different touch points for every single place. And then finally, once you have a few pieces of short form social media content made, then you can just repurpose for everywhere. So anytime I make a reel or a TikTok, I download that video and I upload it as a YouTube short. I upload it as a Facebook reel. I snip it up into stories. So hopefully you're starting to see that you can use the same piece of content several different times and in several different ways to drive traffic and interest to both your email list and to your sales. Because at the end of the day, any business owner is trying to get more leads and more sales. So those are always your main goals with marketing. If you're a content creator where you are actually creating content to keep people on the platform, then your goal is not to drive traffic, because in fact, you'll get penalized for that. If you look at my sister's account, by the way, go check it out if you do like plus size fashion or you just want to see like personal branding done really well. It's Brooke Ness K, which is such a weird thing to spell, but it's like BROOKENESS letter K. And she's not asking me to advertise her channel, by the way. She doesn't need it. But I just think it's interesting to see what people are doing in other niches, because she is creating content to keep you on Instagram. And she wants that, and Instagram rewards her for that. They push out her reels to more people see her content. We're talking about tens and hundreds of thousands of people who are seeing these reels that she's making. And you might not get those same results, and that is okay. You don't need to have posts go viral to do really well when it comes to content marketing. It's a completely different goal from someone who's trying to be an Instagram influencer. And by the way, neither is wrong. Both are completely legitimate business models. It's just you're going to have different tactics and a different overall strategy depending on what your goal is. But if you're here, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably not really wanting to be on social media a lot. I'm guessing you don't want to be an influencer. You want for social media to be a tool that you use to get more subscribers and more sales. And that is what we're doing here. I just want to say thank you for listening to this podcast. I want to share some things that might help you as well. If you are really new to using social media as a tool for list building, I have this often called Strangers to Subscribers, and definitely get that because it's going to work through what you're going to do as far as your overall strategy to work backwards from a paid product to a freebie to social media to content, and help you get connected there and make it so that social media is a more fun process. I also have my Facebook group that you're more than welcome to come join if you're learning about Facebook groups and social media marketing as your store. And then I also want to give you all a heads up. I am in my pre-launch right now for my course. I was trying to figure out the perfect name for it. And right now it is called Instant List for Introverts. It could change over time, but I really love that because it's going to show introverted TPT sellers and teacherpreneurs how you can quickly use Facebook groups to build your list by hundreds or possibly even thousands within a few weeks. Now, I can't guarantee results, but I will say people who are using these strategies and tactics are seeing really good results. Like, we're talking hundreds of subscribers and hundreds of dollars in sales from a few posts over a course of a weekend. So this is totally something that you can do. It is feasible for you. It's doable for you. I'd love to see you in the course, and I'll be sharing a little more about that as we move over this season throughout the launch. Of course, if you're on the email list, you'll also get updates about that, and I look forward to sharing more with you. I'll see you on the next episode.